There are few political leaders in the world as loved as Myanmar's opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The country's military detained her under house arrest for 15 years to silence her pro-democracy campaign. In 2012, she was released and elected to Myanmar's parliament. But her influence and that of her party is still severely curtailed due to a constitution that enshrines the nation's political power in a military that has in the past ruthlessly and violently stamped out dissent. Aung San Suu Kyi would like to run for president in 2015, although the constitution bars her from doing so. She's currently in Australia, where she's asking the Australian government and public to back the people of Myanmar in their push for democratic reform. We spoke in Canberra late this afternoon. Aung San Suu Kyi, lovely to meet you. In the past couple of years, Myanmar has made some notable political and economic progress. What do you consider to be the greatest challenges to the sustainability of that?
We need to go for genuine democracy, not disciplined democracy as anticipated by the previous regime. And of course, you know that 80% of the members of this government come from the old government.
So by disciplined democracy, do you mean military?
I think what they mean is a democracy that is practiced within the framework of the present constitution, which is not a democratic one.
What's in it for the army to support that, given that it currently enshrines their power?
Well, I think it's time for the army to understand that power should be enshrined in the people if we are to be a genuine democracy and not in any particular institution or organisation.
The Burmese military has shown no reluctance in the past to use violence to crack down on dissent. Is there a risk that in this push to amend the constitution that you could face the same sort of situation again, or are we beyond that now in Myanmar?
I don't think we can say that we're beyond any particular situation, but at the same time, I don't think it's such a great risk either, because times have changed, and I think there are a great number of people within the military who wish to be an army that is honoured and respected and trusted by the people. I don't think they want to see themselves as apart from the people. In the past, in the country, people viewed the situation in very stark black and white terms, the military on one side and the civilian population on the other. And I think increasingly there are people in the military who do not like the situation, who know that this is not desirable for the country.
You have spent your life fighting for democracy. Let's say the constitution is amended, you became the president of Myanmar. What would you then want to do as leader of a democracy?
When we founded the National League for Democracy in 1988, we founded it on 3 pillars: democracy, human rights, and national reconciliation. And I think these 3 pillars have yet to be constructed firmly and strongly. So we want to make sure that the democratic institutions are strong and sustainable. And of course, a genuine democracy has to be built on respect and practice of human rights. And national reconciliation is an absolute must. Burma is a country of many ethnic nationalities. The Burmese are just one ethnic nationality, although we are the biggest one. So national reconciliation is something we have not yet achieved. To begin with, reconciliation between the military and the civilian population is very important. We have to learn to trust one another and to understand that together we can build up a country that is at peace and that is secure and prosperous.
Will there be sufficient forgiveness in the country to be able to do that, that people will be able to overlook some of what the military has done?
I think there are some people who will find it hard to forgive. And I don't think this is something that is abnormal or unnatural, because some have suffered under the military regime. I do not have any desire for vengeance, but I also accept that I was treated well. I was placed under house arrest, but that is all. I was not ill-treated the way our people were ill-treated in prison. And while they may have reviled me in the state newspapers, which they did almost on a daily basis at one time, when they came to see me, and any contact I had with the authorities and security forces, they were always respectful. They always behaved very well with me. So I have no reason to wish for vengeance. But I can understand that there would be some who find it unforgivable, who find unforgivable what was done to them over the years. But I think we have to look at the larger picture. We can't concentrate on the emotions of those who wish for vengeance. We have to find a way out of that syndrome of anger for anger, violence for violence. And we have to break out of that. And we have to build our country on the vision we have of the future.
You mentioned earlier that Myanmar is made up of a number of different ethnic nationalities. One of the criticisms that has been made of you recently is that you're not doing enough to stand up for some of those ethnic minorities. What do you say to that?
I think you're probably talking about the Muslim population in the Rakhine and about the Kachin state. Now, let's take the second one first. The Kachin Independence Organization, the KIO, are having official peace talks with the government. And I'm a bit puzzled when I'm told, why am I not criticizing the army? Why am I not speaking up for the Kachins? Isn't this what the KIO is doing directly with the government? When they are engaged in direct peace talks with the government, why are we supposed to then stand up and condemn one side or the other? That might, in fact, derail the peace process, and then we'd be blamed for it. Now, with regard to the situation in the Rakhine, I've always been worried by the fact that focusing so much on the extremist elements within those two communities is going to increase hatred and insecurity. And I would like people who are calling on me to speak out, to say, call on the government to establish rule of law. Why has rule of law not been established in Rakhine? If we could put an end to the violence, if we could make sure that there is no further outbreak of violence, we could get those two communities to sort out their differences.
You have made choices in your life that have entailed a degree of personal sacrifice. What do you think has been the hardest thing about the path that you have chosen?
I don't think any particular thing was hard about it. I think once you've made a choice, you've made a choice. And what I think most concerned me was that the political path that my party and I chose should be the right one for our country. Because I do believe in honest politics. And because we're starting out on a new road, we have this advantage that we can avoid making too many mistakes. I don't think we can avoid entirely making mistakes, but we can avoid making too many mistakes. And in a sense, instead of looking on it as difficulties or problems, that these are opportunities given to us to build up a genuine culture of democracy. It's not simply democracy as a political system. We need to build up a whole culture of democracy, including negotiated compromise. And the Burmese are not very strong on negotiated compromise.
You inspire many people around the world. Who in turn inspires you?
I'm inspired by people whom perhaps others may not have heard of, simply people who are kind and dedicated, people within my party who have really worked hard to keep our cause going, and of whom nobody has ever heard. The ones I call the unknown soldiers, the soldiers without names. These are the bravest of all because they get no recognition, and they want no recognition. I'm recognized, I'm honored, and I've been very fortunate in gaining the friendship and support of many. But some of our unknown soldiers, people don't even know that they exist, and yet I wouldn't be where I am now without those.
Thank you very much for making time to speak to our audience. It's been so interesting to talk to you.
No, it's been a pleasure.